really interested and curious about your workshop. Can you tell me what the premise is and also about the title?
Yeah, so the title is The Way Home: Reclaiming Your Story Through Myth and Archetypes, which sounds like a lot. And the premise is that we all have these stories, our life stories, and that they are not set in stone. In fact, they're living maps for how to move forward, but we don't know how to unpack them. So, this is a workshop that takes a deep dive into your story, chapter by chapter, month by month, so that you can excavate for the medicine, the learning, the things to take forward.
You said something about it being set in stone, and I've always believed that that is the way that it is.
Hmm.
So, what's your view on that?
Yeah, I think that's really common to think, well, that's fact. What happened to me happened. We can't change that. That's true. The facts are the facts, but who's telling the story? Is it that wounded child telling the story of an attack, as that happened to me? Or is it the more mature adult looking back with compassion on that child? So the facts are the facts, but who's telling the story, who the narrator is, this changes everything.
This sounds like it's going to be really deep. So,
Mm.
could I walk away with something practical?
Mm, yeah, because it is multi-layered. This workshop, The Way Home, is multidimensional because that's how real change happens. It doesn't just happen through lecture or through, um, passively receiving information. So it's deep, but it's also practical because we're going to be moving around. We're going to be out in the forest walking. We're going to use our surroundings as metaphor to change perspective and to look at what are different lenses that we could be telling our stories through. And in that way, those tools will become practical because start to notice, what is the story I've been telling myself? Is that really true? What if I told it from this perspective or from a different archetypal perspective? Have I been telling it from the orphan's perspective when in fact it could be from the warrior's perspective? And how does that shift the whole story? These are practical tools, believe it or not, because you start to look at everything that way instead of just that's a fact that happened. What's the lens that I'm processing that story through?
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm.
So it sounds like I'm actually really going to be participating too, not just
Oh,
listening and learning that way, but I'm really going to be learning through different activities and writing. And tell me more about that.
yeah. So you don't have to be a writer to be in this class. In fact, I kind of prefer you not be. I mean, if you are and you like to write, great. But this isn't a writing class. This isn't about the craft. This is about first just how have you been telling the story? So each time you'll bring a piece of the story, and there's a month in between, so you have time. It's not heavy homework. And then within each class, we'll look at our stories through different lenses, through archetypes, but like maybe we'll play with masks. Maybe we'll, like I said, walk through the forest, look at the trees, try to really create from everything. And realize that our stories, while they're uniquely ours, sometimes deeply, of course, personal, they're also part of a whole lineage. As humans, we're storytelling animals. And meaning making animals. And so we're also going to share our stories, pieces of them, not every time, but maybe around a campfire, as humans have done forever, telling each other stories so that we can also start to learn how much we share in common.
I love that. what is that makes me try to visualize the kind of person I'm coming out of this workshop, how I've changed. What's
Mm,
the end goal for me?
yeah, the end goal is that you, I think it's freedom, that your story isn't a prison, it's a portal. And that it's not to say, oh, we can just make things up and change things around. No, the way home is about truth, your truth, but asking yourself always, who's telling that story? Which part of me is telling that story? And is it helping me or is it disempowering me? And so I think what you'll walk away with is the freedom to be able to re envision your story, to re envision those facts so that you're fully at choice for what comes next.
For my own final clarity, how do I know this is for me? Who is this for?
Yeah. Well, I know that the marketing people don't like this, but I really feel like it's for everyone. And I want this circle of 10 people to all be different. I'm not looking for all women or all women of a certain age or all men. So far, the interest is with all genders, all backgrounds, professions. I know a physician who's very interested in this. I know a hairdresser who's very interested in this. It's really for people who are curious about their own stories and wondering if they're using their own story to its maximum capacity, and want to live fuller and access more and be less afraid and take a look at whether that story, their life story, has been limiting them and use it as an entrance to possibility maybe that you never considered.
It sounds so exciting. Can you talk more about the logistics?
Yeah, the logistics of the way home, reclaiming your story through myth and archetype, is it's a 12-month 12 session, so it's monthly. I'm looking for 10 people who are willing to commit fully to their own story and a process of excavating it. It is in person. I'm looking in the future for different ways I can make this available remotely. Um, and I've got a place where this will happen, which is about an hour from the Twin Cities. Um, there are people who are considering flying in. So if you're looking to come to a great city in all months of the year, Minneapolis is where it's happening or nearby.
And when does it start?
It starts in January of all things in Minnesota, January 2026. And what I'm excited about is each month is an opportunity to even look at the climate and the natural surroundings, what happens month to month. So we're really going to consider everything in story. What's the moon doing? What is there snow on the ground? Are the leaves changing? Because all of this is a part of who we are and our story.